In the autumn of 1940, as German bombers filled the skies over London and Hitler's invasion barges gathered in Channel ports, a small office in Wormwood Scrubs Prison became the unlikely center of one of the most audacious intelligence operations in human history. Behind bars that had once confined common criminals, a team of British intelligence officers began implementing a plan so ambitious that it bordered on fantasy. They intended to capture every German spy in Britain, turn them into double agents, and use them to feed false information back to their Nazi handlers. The operation was codenamed the Double Cross System, and it would ultimately prove that in the deadly game of wartime espionage, the most dangerous weapon was not a gun or a bomb, but the enemy's own confidence in their intelligence network. The architect of this remarkable deception was Colonel John Cecil Masterman, a mild-mannered Oxford academic who had spent his peacetime career studying medieval history. Masterman understood that successful deception required more than just lies. It demanded a complete fictional reality that would satisfy the enemy's need to believe they possessed superior intelligence. Under his guidance, the 20 Committee, so named because the Roman numerals XX represented the double cross, began systematically identifying and recruiting every German agent operating in Britain. The first challenge was finding the spies, a task that proved surprisingly easy once British codebreakers penetrated the German Enigma cipher system. With advance warning of every infiltration attempt, MI5 agents could position themselves to intercept German operatives the moment they set foot on British soil. Some spies were captured immediately upon landing by submarine or parachute. Others, believing their covers were secure, actually walked into British police stations and announced themselves as refugees seeking asylum. A few particularly naive agents even asked for directions to strategic targets they had been assigned to observe. The interrogation center at Camp 020, under the direction of Lieutenant Colonel Robin Stevens, became a factory for manufacturing double agents. Stevens, known to his colleagues as Tin Eye because of his monocle, was a master of psychological manipulation who understood that breaking an enemy agent was only the first step in a much more complex process. Each captured spy faced a simple choice: execution as an enemy agent, or cooperation in an elaborate deception that would turn them against their former masters. Most chose cooperation, but becoming a successful double agent required far more than simply agreeing to switch sides. Each operative had to be carefully studied, their personality analyzed, and their background researched to determine what kind of false information they could plausibly report back to Germany. MI5 created detailed fictional biographies for each double agent, complete with imaginary friends, fabricated jobs, and plausible explanations for how they had gained access to sensitive information. The crown jewel of the double cross system was Juan Pujol Garcia, a Spanish chicken farmer who had convinced the Germans he was running a vast spy network throughout Britain. Garcia, codenamed Garbo by the British, had initially approached German intelligence with an offer to spy for them, not out of Nazi sympathy, but from a deep hatred of totalitarianism that he wanted to express by sabotaging the German war effort. Working entirely from Lisbon, Garcia had created a network of imaginary sub-agents with such convincing detail that German intelligence considered him their most valuable asset in Britain. When Garcia finally arrived in Britain and was recruited by MI5, he brought with him a fictional spy network that existed only in German imagination, but was considered absolutely authentic by Nazi intelligence officers. Under British control, Garcia expanded his imaginary network to include 27 sub-agents, each with carefully crafted personal histories and plausible reasons for accessing different types of intelligence. German handlers sent Garcia substantial payments for information from agents who existed only on paper, never suspecting that every word they received had been carefully crafted by British intelligence specialists. The genius of the double-cross system lay not just in the quality of individual deceptions, but in the way multiple agents' reports corroborated each other to create a consistent, fictional reality. When Garbo reported unusual military activity in one part of Britain, another double agent would independently confirm similar observations from a different perspective. When a third agent reported overheard conversations that seemed to support the same conclusion, German intelligence analysts would congratulate themselves on receiving independent verification of important intelligence from multiple reliable sources. The system's greatest test came during the preparation for D-Day, when British intelligence used their network of double agents to support Operation Fortitude, the massive deception designed to convince the Germans that the main Allied invasion would land at Pas-de-Calais rather than Normandy. Every double agent in the network contributed to this deception, reporting false information about troop movements, supply buildups, and strategic planning that painted a completely fictional picture of Allied intentions. Garbo's performance during this period was nothing short of masterful. In the weeks leading up to D-Day, he sent his German handlers increasingly urgent reports about a massive army assembling in southeastern England under the command of General Patton. His fictional sub-agents provided detailed observations of landing craft, supply dumps, and troop concentrations that perfectly matched the physical deceptions being constructed as part of Operation Fortitude. German intelligence was so impressed with the quality and timeliness of Garbo's reporting that they awarded him the Iron Cross, making him one of the few people in history to receive high military honors from both sides in the same war. The ultimate measure of the double-cross system's success came on D-Day itself, when German forces remained positioned to defend against an invasion at Pas-de-Calais, while the real Allied assault landed in Normandy. Even after the Normandy landings began, German intelligence continued to believe that the main invasion was yet to come, largely because their most trusted agents continued to report preparations for a larger assault elsewhere. Valuable German reserves remained tied down, defending beaches that would never be attacked, while Allied forces consolidated their positions and prepared for the breakout that would liberate Western Europe. The psychological impact of the double-cross system extended far beyond its immediate tactical benefits. German intelligence officers who had prided themselves on their professionalism and sophistication discovered after the war that their entire understanding of Allied capabilities and intentions had been carefully manipulated by their enemies. Agents they had trusted implicitly had been working against them from the beginning. Intelligence networks they had spent years developing had been controlled by British masters who fed them exactly the information they wanted them to have. Perhaps most devastating of all was the realization that Germany's confidence in their intelligence superiority had been turned into a weapon against them. The more they trusted their spy networks, the more effectively those networks were used to deceive them. Their own efficiency in gathering intelligence had become the mechanism of their defeat, as British controllers used German thoroughness and attention to detail to make their deceptions more convincing. When the war ended in May 1945, British intelligence revealed that they had controlled virtually every German agent operating in Britain throughout the conflict. The double-cross system had achieved something unprecedented in the history of espionage: the complete penetration and control of an enemy intelligence network without the enemy ever realizing what had happened. In turning the enemy's own spies against themselves, British intelligence had demonstrated that in the shadowy world of wartime deception, the most effective weapons were often the enemy's own assumptions, prejudices, and overconfidence in their ability to see through Allied deceptions.